At the end of the day, you need to do two things. You need to build awareness and you need to build trust. That's it. So it's my birthday, going for a morning ride down the Comet Trail. It's an old paved railroad that goes on to, literally I could ride it to Alabama, but it's a cool, nice shaded, away from traffic. Most people are not up yet, just having some fun. So when my son was leaving for school, he said, happy birthday, and what am I going to do all day? And I said, well, I'm going to ride my bike and then I'm going to go work a little bit. And he was kind of puzzled. He goes, why are you going to work on your birthday? And I told him, well, because I love it. And I really do, and I hope to be doing this another 40, 50, 60 years. So let's do another Q&A.
I'm Jason Swenk, and I'm answering your questions.
So Jake asked, is there a formula you use when deciding on the price of the foot in the door offer? We'll be looking to expand into retainers no less than $8,500 a month or a flat project rate of $60,000 plus. We don't want to price the foot in the door offer too low, or I fear it won't act as a true qualifier of commitment of the total budget. Any help would be appreciated. So Jake, you're not really using the foot in the door as a qualifier. Let me explain. You're using it to speed up the sales process. When you first talk to the prospect, you need to be qualifying them for the future engagement. So if they want to replicate LegalZoom or do a project like LegalZoom, you need to be qualifying for that. If it was going to be $500,000 to replicate LegalZoom, you need to qualify them and say, hey, just from the rough look from the outside, it's probably going to be around $500,000 to replicate that, just a ballpark. Remember what I talked about, the reverse auctioneer. Are you trying to say around $1 million, $500,000, $400,000? Find out some kind of range. Now, they're within the range. That's when you start positioning the foot in the door. And mainly you're doing this to really save you time and eliminate the proposal. So when you eliminate the proposal, basically you're having a conversation with them first, letting them know what you're going to be doing with the foot in the door offer. And mainly it's around a discovery or mapping session, scoping session. So you need to let them know what are the possible outcomes of the foot in the door. If I was doing this for the LegalZoom example, I would say, look, we're going to give you a detailed plan of everything that you need to do building out the LegalZoom site. We're going to meet with you for a half day. We're literally going to map out everything you need together, and then we're going to determine if you want to move forward from that. Now, here are the possible outcomes. You could take this to another agency. You could hire internal people and just follow this plan, or you would want to work with us. Now, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what you charge, or even if you lost the money on it, as long as you're qualifying them for the future engagement. My rule of thumb is I'd usually be around 5 to 10%. But look, my foot in the door right now that I do is an agency blueprint where I map out a lead generation system for agencies. So I basically jump on a 45-minute call, I go over what they're doing now, and we map out something together. At the end of the plan, I say, do you want my help on this? And most of the time they say yes, and we engage. I use a qualifier based on the criteria. So I say, hey, you must be over $500,000 in revenue in your agency. And I go over a number of different other criteria. Charge $300 for this. And I call it a real person refundable deposit. That's my foot in the door. Now, if you looked at it, go $300 compared to $18,000 to work with me privately, that's a pretty big leap, right? So I always tell them why I'm charging $300. I say, look, I'm just doing this as, to make sure that you're serious, and then I go over outcomes. Going to your example of charging, $8,500 on a monthly retainer, $60,000 for an engagement, I probably would charge a foot in the door around probably $3,500 to maybe $7,500. It's all about how you position it too. Literally, you could charge $500, kind of something low and dumb like I do, but you just have to explain why you're doing this. Like, if you don't explain it, you just say, hey, it's $500 for this, and you don't give them an explanation of why you're doing it, then they're going to perceive all your other pricing to be associated to that. I think that's your real question is I don't want people to associate the foot in the door price to the full engagement. You just need to explain it. You need to have a conversation with them. And then you can send them to that order page that explains it in more detail. Because when you're chatting with them over the phone or online or in person, they're going to remember about 10 or 15%. And a lot of times they'll have to check with their partner or their other peers to say, hey, this is what I want to do. So if you do a detailed sales page for the foot in the door, it's going to position you in the right way so everybody's on the same page and you win the deal a lot quicker. At the end of the day, you need to do two things. You need to build awareness and you need to build trust. That's it, right? But a lot of people mess that up because they just go, well, I'll put my website out there and I'll create these blog posts and I'll share them out one time on Facebook and one time on Twitter and I'm good. Does that sound familiar? Because a lot of agencies or companies, what they'll do is here they make them fill out a huge application. Or worst case scenario, they'll just send them to their calendar link. Right? Like, book a time with me. And I'm like, dude, you're wasting time. You're talking to the wrong prospects, right? And time is your most valuable asset. So just had lunch with my mom. Thank you, Mom, for coming over and bringing me that great food for my birthday. And she asked me a really good question. She goes, in the past 40 years, do I have any regrets? And I don't have one single regret. Looking forward, she goes, well, what do you look forward to? Being with my family and seeing and growing old with my wife, growing older, and seeing my boys, become men. And I wish all of you the same thing.
Yeah.